When Allen Iverson entered the league, they didn't see a future superstar. They saw a problem. He was too small, too loud, too raw. And worst of all, he refused to change who he was. In an NBA built on conformity, Allen Iverson arrived like disruption itself. Drafted first overall in 1996, Iverson stood barely 6 feet tall in a league dominated by giants. But what truly scared the NBA wasn't his height, it was his attitude. Cornrows, tattoos, baggy clothes. Iverson didn't just play basketball. He carried an entire culture onto the hardwood. Before Iverson, the NBA sold polish and corporate appeal. After Iverson, it sold authenticity. On the court, he was simply unstoppable. A lightning-quick first step that left defenders frozen. Fearless drives into the paint against players nearly twice his size. He didn't avoid contact, he attacked it. Night after night, Iverson absorbed punishment that would break most players, yet he just kept coming. Blood, bruises, and pure exhaustion were simply part of the job description for him. Then came 2001. That season, he delivered one of the greatest individual performances in NBA history. He won the MVP award. He was the scoring champion. He led the league in steals. He carried an underdog Philadelphia 7-6 Ers team to the NBA Finals almost by sheer force of will alone. That season wasn't just about dominance, it was an act of pure defiance. And then came the moment that would define him forever. Game 1 of the NBA Finals. Los Angeles, Staples Center. Iverson drops an incredible 48 points against the powerhouse Lakers team that hadn't lost a single playoff game. And after hitting a clutch jumper over Tyronn Lue, he steps over him. It wasn't an act of disrespect, it was a declaration. A message sent to the entire world. I belong here. That image became instantly iconic. A symbol of David conquering Goliath. But it also painted a massive target on his back. As Iverson's popularity exploded, so did the league's discomfort. He was inspiring millions of young fans who looked like him, dressed like him, and spoke like him. The NBA, it seemed, wasn't quite ready for that reflection. Instead of embracing the cultural shift he represented, the league tried to control it. In 2005, the league introduced the now infamous dress code. Suits, collared shirts, no chains, no headwear. Officially, it was about promoting professionalism. Unofficially, everyone knew who it was aimed at: Allen Iverson. The league never said his name, but it didn't have to. He had already become the symbol. The face of a culture the NBA wanted to distance itself from, even as it was profiting immensely from his appeal. Iverson complied publicly, but something had shifted. The battles weren't just on the court anymore. They were now happening in press conferences, in locker rooms, and in the media. Coaches questioned his leadership. The media labeled him difficult, a problem player. The famous practice press conference began to follow him everywhere, stripped of its context and turned into a punchline. What people forgot or chose to ignore was the pain behind it, the constant injuries, the personal grief he was dealing with, the sheer exhaustion of carrying a franchise's expectations entirely on his shoulders. As the league evolved, it began to embrace analytics, complex offensive systems, and floor spacing. Iverson didn't fit neatly into any of those boxes. He wasn't a system player. He was the system, and slowly the NBA began to move on. His minutes dropped. His roles on teams shrank. New teams wanted him to change, to become quieter, smaller, less himself. But Iverson refused. And in a league that demands adaptation above all else, refusal comes at a steep price. By his mid-30s, the same NBA that once feared his influence no longer seemed to have a place for him. But here's the truth that history makes crystal clear. Everything the NBA celebrates today player individuality, their fashion influence, the crossover into mainstream culture. Allen Iverson helped normalize it first. The tattoos, the swagger, the unapologetic emotional honesty. The fundamental idea that greatness doesn't have to look one certain way. The players who followed in his footsteps didn't have to fight the same battles. Iverson had already fought them, and he lost years of his peace doing it. He didn't just change the game of basketball. He changed what the game allowed its players to be. And that kind of revolutionary change always comes with a price. Allen Iverson paid it in endless criticism, in widespread misunderstanding, and ultimately, in isolation. The league he left behind was never the same. Sometimes the ones who change history don't get to fully enjoy the world they help create. They just make sure it happens for everyone else. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this story, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more content just like this. See you in the next one.